YouTube. So here we go, worldwide premiere, first one on YouTube, a Yoshi guitar. When I say first one on YouTube, I try searching Yoshi guitar, they don't turn up. I only know about these because of my pal Wayne, who's also a fan of the Grant guitars. See, these ones, specifically this one. It's very similar, isn't it? Yes. So, still don't know a little bit about these. These are 1985-ish. I only know that because one of you guys, my subscribers, remember seeing them hanging on the wall in Grant's guitar shop in Byres Road in Glasgow when he bought his West Tone Thunder, which was on his 18th birthday or something, so he knows it was 1985. So, round about 1985 for them. Again, don't really know that much about them apart from that. Made in Japan. So, specs. So, we've got this shape. I don't really know what shape you would call it. Pal Scott, I've done. I think this is the third video of this, but one of them was just me talking about it. One of them was me showing it to my pal when it was still manky. I did do quite a lot of work on it to get it up into this condition, to get it to play basically. But we've got, so it's bolt on neck, a wee bit of buckle rash on this one, through strung like a Telecaster, brass saddles, Gotoh branded pickups. Big difference between this and the Grants, which I assume are Gotoh pickups, but these ones actually have, you know, the brass plate on the back says Gotoh on them. So not exactly the same as the Grants. Also, the other thing is, even though the truss rod cover is identical, I was very smart when I went to get this, and I was like, I know that they don't have an Allen key. They've got like they use the Gibson truss rod wrench thing. So I took the Gibson truss rod wrench in my pocket. You know, when you're buying a guitar, it was the neck was the killer. If the truss rod's gone, it's kind of not worth fixing these things. So I was like, took the thing off, and it's an Allen key. So this one, Allen key, like a normal guitar. They've got the Gibson one. Also Gotoh branded pickups. They don't have Gotoh branded pickups. I think they're exactly the same pickups though. Although in saying that, what I did notice is you're not going to see it in this video, but this was incredibly dirty when I cleaned it up. These are definitely creamier than those ones are. That could be, maybe this has been in the sun or something though, as opposed to these. See these? Well, the bass as well. They've got it's a whiter pickup and pickup ring, whereas this has got a creamier pickup and pickup ring, but that could be a chemical thing. Actually, it came in it came in the gig bag it comes in. It's like a horrible beige 70s rubbery thing with a buckle on it. Maybe that's like been a chemical process that's kind of, rather than, it's not dirt, it's a chemical process, whether it's UV light or something has made them creamier. So we've got 2 volumes and a tone, 3-way switch, and a coil split switch which splits both of them. It splits them to this coil and this coil, which are the ones I would choose. Whether it's hum cancelling or not, I've not yet worked out. Well, I'll do that in a second. But if you're going to split pickups, ideally, I think you want the neckmost coil from the neck pickup to get the best neckiest sound. And in the bridge position, you kind of want the neckiest one as well, because this one's a bit brittle. But in saying that, there is a wee bit of I don't know, maybe not. I'm looking at other guitars. I've definitely seen. Now maybe it's about normal. I'm looking at. No, don't look at the one I made. How close the pickup is to the bridge saddles. It's obviously exactly the same as it is on the Grants, but so this one is generally a bit thin. Although I am thinking, because this is a 2-way switch, is it on or is it off? Well, it's down is coil split and up is humbuckers. But if I put a 3-way switch in, like with a coil choice switch, that means that in the middle it's humbuckers, so I know it's in the middle, so it's humbuckers, and I can make up, outer coils and inner coils, or these two, which means you could actually use each individual coil on its own. I don't know whether that's really worth it or not though. It depends. Kind of depends whether it's hum cancelling or not. Which I will find out right now by putting on too much distortion. Something like that. Right, so that's it. That's when you hold a single coil up to an amp with lots of distortion on that amount of buzzing. So in the middle position, right, it doesn't have the hum cancelling thing on it. So with tendency there, what I think I might do with this, I'm kind of going off the subject of this guitar, but so as I said, it is using the 2 coils that I want. What I think I might do is I'll put in the 3-way switch and I'll make it so that it gives, and then I'll turn one of these pickups round, so that I can get this coil and this coil, but it'll be spun round, so it'll be in this position, which will give me the 2 sounds that I've got just now. Apart from it'll be hum cancelling in the middle. I'll do that, and then so in one position, if you put it down the other way, it'll give you this coil and this coil, both hum cancelling. I might do that. I'm not going to do that, am I? Anyway, yes. So it's got the cool notch knobs on it as well. This one's quite beat up. It's got also, I should also have a wee look at the output jack. It was very quiet, and then it's goose with contact cleaner, and it seems to be fine now. Also got like an Aria type smooth neck join type thing. Same as the other ones. This one was missing a tuner. This one actually has a serial number. I've looked up, if you look up the Facebook, Yoshi Guitars, my pal Wayne runs a site. You can't post on it though. It's a reference site, I think he calls it, because he's got a couple of these. He's got a, doesn't have this one though. They all look the same, but he's got a set neck one and a through neck one, which are this design. So the tendency would be to think that they're Yoshi guitars and Yoshi went under and Grant bought up leftover stock and painted them and put their own brand on it. Possibly. At some point these will turn up and people will know what they are. What they are is definitely top-notch mid-80s Japanese guitars, so you're up at thousands of pounds to get one this equivalent. They don't go for that just now. This you can't really see in this one because it's been painted, but it's got the 3-piece neck, which these have. This one particularly, which is a really fancy looking one. You can sort of see it there. You know, you got like a, it's a 3. You can't know. One of them's, no, I think the one I sold to Scott is the one with the really fancy, the lots of figuring on it. That one's quite figured. And you can't, you're not really going to see it, are you? You can't really, but it's a 3-piece laminate neck, which is super stable, super strong, and super good. Really nice rosewood fingerboard. I did have to do the frets a little bit on this, but it was their first fret job, so it's still plenty of room left. I also had to do a wee bit of work on the nuts as well. It's okay. Yeah, so 8 minutes in and not played a note yet. Clean to start with, so in single coil mode, clean bridge pickup. Why can I hear reverb? There isn't any. Neck pickup with the volume up. And then both on. Oh. What I have just noticed, hand built, because that dot there isn't exactly in between that fret and that fret. It's kind of a wee bit off, which means somebody put it in by hand. That's in the middle. Yes. So that you could look at that as a quality issue, maybe. It's not far off. It's only a millimetre off the centre of the fret. It's just a marker. It doesn't mean anything. But and that implies someone's put it in. It's not been a machine, because a machine would put it in at the same place every time. Back in this era, guitars were handmade. Certainly more handmade than a lot of guitars you buy now that are actually said this is a handmade guitar. Like your Fender. I've seen, if you've ever looked, I can't remember, there's a Fender custom shop or a Fender hand finishing the necks, and it's basically a guy he's got like a big massive belt sander, and he's picking the necks out of bulk, going zing, 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 checking it with a gauge, zing, 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 checking it with a gauge, zing, zing, there we go. Next, that's handmade, whereas this one, I'm pretty sure, handmade as in somebody with sandpaper, like physically like that, and then assembling it themselves. And a human put the pickups in and bolted the neck on and all these things. So the tolerances in this are much tighter than a lot of guitars, because wood's all slightly different. So I think this is an ash body on it. I looked at it. There's what looks like a bit of a line there. See, I don't know if you can see. There's like a line around the edge. So I thought it was a veneer, but actually it's not. It must be something to do with the painting process or the sanding thing. There's a dark line, but you can see the grain going round the corner. And looking at it, it's dead hard to see how many pieces it's made out of. If you get the angle right, you can sort of see some. But it's very hard to tell. And that's with a natural top on it. I assume that's ash with all the thing on it. I think I was looking at this over at Scott's last night, or the other night, last night's video, and I was thinking, I think we decided it was 3 pieces. There's one, right. So that there's definitely a join there. The lighting here is atrocious for this. And possibly there. I think it might be. That might be a separate. It's a 3-piece, I think, something like that. But a very well done 3-piece where you can't actually tell what it's doing. But that middle sound is just great. So then bridge humbucker. Quite a big difference between humbucker and single. Stratty, Les Pauly, neck pickup. That's going to sound great with distortion. I had the bridge off to see what it was. I wondered if it was maybe a Tushin bridge. I've definitely seen this bridge on Washburn Ravens. Have this bridge, and lots of other early to mid 80s Japanese guitars have this bridge, probably made by Goto. Goto are one of those companies that nowadays I don't think they make cheap stuff, but back in the day they just made bridges, so they made like fancy ones in the entire range. Same with the pickups. Not saying that they weren't all good, but they did not a budget range. Basically, that was the best all you could get at the time. And the Goto tuners, which will be Goto, even though they're not branded, they're maybe a slightly lesser spec than the ones that are branded, or maybe they're cheaper to buy them branded. Maybe people didn't want them branded. I'm not really sure exactly how that worked. But back in this era of guitar, it was very common. This is when guitars got shit, and you started getting tuners that looked like this but were crap, and bridges that looked like a Floyd Rose but were crap, and pickups that looked like DiMarzio's but were crap. This is before that era. This is the era when people used to go into a guitar shop and try the guitars and then buy the one they liked best. They didn't they didn't look at it in a catalogue and then look at the spec list. I'm looking at modern guitars where it's designed to look really good on an internet advert, so it's got a fancy veneer on the top or something, and the spec list is like pure, it's got flame, roasted maple, and it's got Wilkinson. That's what sells a guitar. It doesn't have to be good. Hello, Harley Benton. I keep mentioning them, but I mean, it's a very, very similar to what happened with Marlin, and a lot of companies did this in the late 80s when they started moving to Korea, and they realised that they could. It's like the Tory way of doing it. It's like, well, let's just for right now, this year, we can take the guitars that used to be made in Japan, the good ones. They were selling for £400, something like that. We can move them to Korea, and instead of making them for £200 and selling them for £400, we can make them for £20 and sell them for £400. Look at all that profit we'll make this year. And unfortunately, that doesn't last long term. That's kind of why, things like guitars like Washburn, Ibanez didn't do it, but the Japanese companies, kind of when they moved to Korea, they didn't just make them, they made them significantly cheaper all the way through, but kept the prices the same. I think it was something to do with the yen changed or something like that, which I'd kind of understand, because people were going, I want a Washburn Wing. And it's like, £400 in 1981 or whatever it was, and then it's like 1984. It's like, if you were to make that, even if you were to make it in Korea rather than make it in Japan to that spec, it would be £700, and people would be going, that's twice the price it was 2 years ago. So they had to keep the price the same. So they kept the price the same and just really lowered. Gibson did the same with the SGs. I remember my SG's not on the wall. I've got a early 90s SG special, and it was like, at the time when I bought it, they were $599, something like that. I didn't buy it new, but they were $599, $699, that kind of thing. And then a year after I bought mine, they brought out the new ones, and they were only $450. And I was like, how can the price go down? You pick it up, you play it, and go, all right, that's why. Because it cost half as much to build it, even though it looked the same, sort of. Yeah. What a lot of gibbering. 17 minutes and not played anything yet. Not even hit distortion yet. I think I might have to have a separate jam video with this one. So not lacking in sustain. I suppose it's kind of like the classic PRS thing, where you've got the Japanese were doing this in the 80s, which is now a modern thing. This still counts as a contemporary modern guitar design because it's got the coil splits and the construction of it. It's like, it's still a modern guitar, which is like, but it's from the 80s. How can it still be modern? It still is. So it's kind of on the PRS thing where you're going somewhere between a Les Paul and somewhere between a Gibson and a Fender. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's Fender scale length. I'm going to check anyway. It's going to be bet you £1 Fender scale. You owe me £1. So it's 25.5 inch scale, and the go-to pickups are pretty much just DiMarzio Super Distortions. You couldn't tell. You can tell when you take it out, look in the back, and it says Goto and doesn't say made by DiMarzio. Also, the other way you can tell is if you put see that it's got like Allen key pull pieces on it. They are metric on Goto ones, and because DiMarzio's an American, they'll be imperial. So depending on whether it's your imperial Allen key fits it, that's basically the way you tell. You can't tell by listening to it. Maybe people with better ears can, but not if you don't know, I don't think. No. And then maybe, I don't know, how would you put them in exactly the same guitar? I don't know. Bridge pickup on distortion and humbucker mode. Sorry, that was the middle. This is the bridge. Yeah, I wonder why it sounded funny. I'll try and get up the fretboard. I've not actually. I haven't played up here, so there might be dead frets. We don't know. This bridge is really comfortable. This is a really great design of bridge. Just, it's really smooth on your hand. Just like there's no jaggy bits. It just feels right. Balance wise, it possibly, it kind of wants to sit a little bit like that, as opposed to, I would rather it was going to sit a little bit like that. But it just wants to be that wee bit lower, wee bit microphonic, but that's why it sounds so good. Yeah, I mean, basically you're talking about West Tone Thunder. No, it'd be a good fight between this and a West Tone Thunder. Mind you, there's a good fight between all the guitars I love are the ones all from Japan in the 80s. It's like most of the ones you can see in the wall just now would have a good fight between them, and it would probably come down to personal preference. I don't like the colour. Oh, I prefer a slightly thinner neck. That kind of thing, rather than a quality thing. Whereas you could put this up against, put it up against like a Mexican Fender or something like that. There's no competition. Apart from me, Jimi Hendrix didn't play a Fender. Didn't play a Yoshi. Again, bad name. The same as vintage brand guitars, but for a slightly different reason. You type in vintage brand guitars or vintage guitar into eBay, and up comes any guitar that's more than 20 years old. But you want a vintage brand because it's vintage. It's more than 20 years old, so it's vintage. This is a vintage guitar. And Yoshi's the same. Type in Yoshi, you get the wee dinosaur, Mario's friend. Type in Yoshi guitar, and you get the wee Mario's friend playing a guitar. You don't find the actual guitar. Even typing it into the internet, I think the only thing that will pop up at all is Wayne's Facebook page. That's it. And then hopefully now this video, or maybe the one I'm going to do after it, because I'm going to have a jam, but I've already been talking for 20 minutes, so I'm going to have to try and squeeze it into 2. I'm just trying to say everything in this one so the next one can just be a jam. Oh, what else to mention? It's well, I don't think my gauges aren't good enough to just differentiate between a 9.5 and a 10-inch radius, but it's a 9.5 or a 10-inch radius. In fact, it's Japanese, so it's probably millimeters. So whatever, 9.5. This isn't the best one. So a 10-inch, a 9.5, 10. So it's about a 250mm or something radius. Would that be right? Yeah. It's like, so it's probably it's probably somewhere between 9.5 and 10-inch radius. So it's like it's basically a modern Fender, not the 7.25 from the vintage Fender, not 12 from a Gibson. In the middle. I'm surprised they didn't go that little bit further like they did with the Washburn Wings and make them 25-inch scale. So they've got an in halfway between Gibson and Fender scale and a halfway between radius. But wonderful. So if you know anything about Yoshi guitars, where they came from, did you buy one new? Where did you buy it? How much did you pay for it? When? It's unknown. Who made this? There's also a brand. I've only ever seen a photo of one of this I'm saying this guitar is the same as the Grant's, even though I've already said there are slight differences, but it's obviously the same design, maybe a slightly different spec. Same factory. They drew around the same thing to make the template. There's also a brand called Sigma, which has got, it's got a really nasty looking logo. It looks very computery. Sigma guitars, which I think were something to do with Martin, Martin Acoustics, who were trying to make import electric guitars. I've only ever seen one photo of one of them. Also, it's possible that you can maybe get this. Maybe you can get this guitar like in other parts of the world, maybe other places in Europe or in America or Australia or something like that, where it's basically this exact guitar, but it's not Yoshi or Grant. It's whoever it was that imported it. I'm not really sure how it's in there. Yoshi to me does not sound like a British or a European import brand though, like Arbiter, Rose Morris, Antoria, any of these ones which all sound kind of Western. Yoshi very much sounds Japanese. So did Yoshi make the guitars and then they failed? Also, the serial number is 10513 on Wayne's Facebook page. I've looked up a couple of other, I scoured through the photos a little bit and saw another couple of serial numbers, and they were all 105 something else. So I'm thinking possibly 1 stands for the first year of production, and then 0513 is the number of guitar. So I'm thinking this is maybe the 513th one ever made in the first year of production, whatever year that is, 84, 85, something round about then. I don't think it's after that. It could be a little bit before it, because as I said in there, maybe wondering about the Grant ones, thinking that I kind of get the impression that they might have been left over or uncompleted ones when whoever originally made them went under, and then they were finished off, and then Grant bought like a container load of them or something like that. Got to ask that guy in the Jim Deacon shop. I bet he knows. So they don't have serial numbers on them. I mean, I'm wondering if I've not done it, and I'm not going to do it. But I can't. I was thinking, I wonder if you took the paint off that, is it going to, on the headstock, does it say Yoshi and below it? I don't think so. But this one, according to Wayne's, quite rare. This has got a veneer on the headstock. You can actually see that. It does. It's got like a wood veneer on the headstock, which you can't see because my lighting's too shit. Which is a bit strange. Also, these have got painted necks, which the Grants have all got just bare maple necks. That's how you can see that they're 3-piece. This one you can see, but you have to be like, oh, looking real close on that. So half an hour out of jam, and the first Yoshi guitar, if you know anything about them, give me a shout. Rock on.